Right. Is this it? All right, everyone. I don't know. No one's there yet, so I will fiddle around until someone shows up. And I wish I had. Oh, there we are. Perfect. That's what I wanted to go over. Perfect. Hey, everybody. I'm not using my computer, and it might be that way for a day or two. Just infrastructure issues. This might be somewhat better picture, actually, as I'm looking at it. Hopefully the mic is working. John, good morning. You're first. Red pepper, Ronnie. Mario, Gary, red pepper. Hey, Polly, I heard you met the hamster. He spoke highly of the meeting, of meeting you, meeting the other guy. And he said you guys had a lot of drinks. Hope so. Hope you had fun. Hope you had fun. All right. I guess Ham is playing. Oh, I got to look over here, I think. Yeah, there. Ham is playing not racquetball. What's the other thing? Pickleball. Ham is playing pickleball. But I think he wants to come on at noon or noon 30. I'm coming on a little early just because I'm having a cup of coffee and I wanted to make sure this equipment worked. But I just got Jim Rickard's strategic intelligence, and yeah, you don't have to read the whole thing. It's pretty, it's a monthly. It's almost like a magazine. But the first page he's talking about FDR. I don't think you care about that. New terms, high expectations. Trump's first 100 days. Let's just skip to that part. Trump will begin, this was written in December, obviously, Christmas time. Trump will begin his first 100 days with an emphasis on his economic plans. His core economic team is already announced. Trump's economic policy will be built around what are called the three arrows. I guess it's Besant, Scott Besant came up with that name. He says the first arrow is that Trump wants to achieve 3% annual growth in the U.S. economy. This may not sound like much, but it is. It sounds like a lot to me. 3% a year for 4 years. For the decade that ended with COVID, he says the U.S. grew at about 2% a year, 2.2. Economists estimate that the potential growth of a mature developed economy such as the United States is about 3.2%. The gap between 3.2% potential growth and 2.2% actual growth means trillions in lost wealth over time. From 1983 to 1986, during the Reagan years, the economy actually did grow at just over 5% a year. Real growth during that 3-year stretch was 16%, although that was after a severe recession when Reagan first took office, 2-year recession. Wait, let me skip forward to his next arrow. Best sense, second arrow, is to keep annual deficits below 3% of GDP. Good luck on that, pal. When discussing debt, we are dealing with the nominal amounts rather than real amounts. For example, if the United States GDP is projected at 28 trillion, then the deficit for that year under this second arrow would not be able to exceed 840 billion. That doesn't involve paying off the debt. But a deficit of 840 billion is huge. Before deciding whether this is an easy target, keeping annual deficits below 3% of GDP, it's helpful to know that the US deficit for 2024 is 1.83 trillion. So to meet that goal, they have to lop $1 trillion off of our annual deficit, which, by the way, I've been thinking about the tariffs, and I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. But it seems like Trump, we're a bigger economy, but Trump raised tariffs on Canada, for example, by 25%. Well, Prime Minister Castro came back and raised tariffs on us by 25%. Well, if this pattern is what's going to happen worldwide, that, you know what that means? It's just a tax. If we raise tariffs on all of our trading partners, let's just pick a number, 25% to everybody, and the EU comes back, well, we're going to come back at you with 25%. China comes back, we're going to do to you 25%. Who pays? To me, it's the consumer. And everything costs 25% more. So it's a way, it seems like, of taxing us. That was my thought. I could be wrong. All right, so BestNet's goal of an $840 billion deficit represents a 54% reduction in the deficit from 2024 and a 50% reduction from the deficit of 2023. That's just huge, which when I read another article to you by Rickards, that explains why he thinks we're going to go into a recession. That's going to be massively deflationary. Not all of this deficit reduction would have to come from spending cuts. It could come from growth in the economy. This does not mean tax rate increases. It does mean tax revenue increases from current or even reduced rates. So without raising rates or even cutting rates, if the economy can grow, you can cut that down. One ace in the hole for Trump and BestCent will be tariffs. Oh, wow. I didn't read this before. Tariffs are not part of the Internal Revenue Code, but they do generate government revenues. See, that's what's going on. The U.S. began tariffs in 1790, but the Internal Revenue Code did not come into being until 1913. For 123 years, the United States government funded itself mostly with tariffs and excise taxes. The U.S. currently imports over 3.5 trillion in goods, 3.5 trillion in goods. If only half were subject to tariffs of 10%, that would generate 175 billion of new revenue, which goes a long way to reaching best sense deficit reduction goals. Now the genius of the Three Arrows plan becomes clear. If nominal GDP growth is 5%, 3% real growth, 2% inflation, and nominal deficits are kept at 3% of GDP, that means nominal growth is higher than the nominal deficit, and the debt to GDP ratio is declining. That is sustainable. In 1945, the United States debt to GDP ratio was 120%. That was obviously because of World War II. By 1980, did you make a cut up? Morning in America. By 1980, that ratio had fallen to 30%. So the US debt to GDP was 120%. And then under Volcker, it went down to 30%, which is sustainable. As long as the economy is growing more quickly than the debt, and as long as the debt is at a reasonable level compared to GDP, anything under 60%, then debt and deficits are really not a problem. For the record, the last time the United States had no national debt, you all know this, was in 1836. Remember that? It's the last time the Redskins won the Super Bowl. That was Andrew Jackson. By the way, the debt to GDP reduction from 120% in 1945 to 30% in 1980 was bipartisan. It was a bipartisan effort. Truman, Kennedy, Johnson, Carter, Eisenhower, Nixon, Ford. It's unfortunate that we don't have that kind of bipartisanship today. The US debt to GDP ratio today is 125%, the highest ever. Swell. It's a hell of a price to pay for being stylish. The debt surge started under Obama, continued under Trump because of COVID, maybe, and surged under Biden. COVID, and Rickards calls it the Green News scam, Ukraine, and Build Back Better. If nominal growth exceeds debt growth by only 2% per year under the Three Arrows plan, which would be a difference of 540 billion, the ratio, the US debt to GDP ratio will drop and start to head back toward the 90% level, which is a critical threshold, and eventually back to 60%, which is sustainable. The third arrow, best sense third arrow, which it has implications for how you invest, is to increase US oil production by 3 million barrels a day. This if any of you are accredited, and accredited is your own willingness to state, so no one checks it. But there's a private company that I'm raising money for in the oil business with a friend of mine I've known for 20, oh my gosh, approaching 30 years. Good, I'm just getting so old. But anyway, one thing with a focus on U.S. oil production is the debate, well, then that means oil prices are going to come down. Well, maybe. But just like back in the gold rush in San Francisco, California, and elsewhere, a lot of people made money selling jeans to the miners, selling picks to the miners, selling shovels to the miners. The way to make money is to own assets which have exposure to the industry, which is growing. Anyway, what this company does is very similar to the Railtown. That's why I leapt on Railtown so much. This is this guy's third company. I don't know the CEO the way I know the gentleman that's on the board, or has a senior role. As I'm saying that, I'm not sure he's on the board. Anyway, when you go down and drill out horizontally, you have to stay within a thickness of rock or sediment or whatever the structure is for 2 miles or however long. And if you cowboy it, your drill bit is coming out and in and out and in and out and in. And if you further have to do it, if you have to have a big computer center and people there and you're watching it, or it's done on the truck linked up to your team, it's expensive. I'm not conversant in all the manner of that. I never worked in the field. But what these guys have developed is a cloud-based system, much like Railtown, a technology software that goes right at the front of the drill bit and communicates instantly via, I don't know if it involves the satellite, but all the data is uploaded to the cloud instantly. So that if a CEO is in London, visiting Prince Charles, he can quickly look at his phone or at his iPad and say, well, hang on, King, and go out and say, look, I don't like where you're drilling. I think you need to, and they can adjust that just like that. But the point is, wherever the team is, they can work in real time because it's in the cloud. Also, because this data is so instantaneous, it allows the drill bit to stay in the pay zone. Reportedly, I haven't had this verified independently, 99% of the time. And when I first met this company, they had a couple of customers. Now he's got, if I remember my last conversation, 27 companies doing it. And what happens is, as you drill, like I said, by staying in the zone 99%, 98% of the time versus 85% or 80% of the time, you turn tier 2 assets into tier 1 assets. And they're raising money right now. They've already raised all they need, but he's leaving the deal open for me because I think I can get the rest of it done. There's no, typically you would think if I raised money, I might be able to negotiate for stock or warrants or something. There's none of that. He may give me a small bit of cash for anything that's gone up, in the 1 or 2% range for expenses or something like that. So it's really not it's not a moneymaker for me, but I do believe that this company will be bought out as soon as they achieve, very much like Railtown, as soon as they prove this software is effective and it achieves acceptance in the oil and gas business, they will be bought out by a Schlumberger or a Halliburton, or maybe one of the bigger big oil companies. But I think the logical buyer would be a Schlumberger or Halliburton, maybe for stock. And I think the number will be 5x, and I think it'll be soon. By soon, I mean 18 months. It could take longer, of course. But anyway, that's just, my email address if you're interested. I really haven't pitched that to anyone, but it's gonna close. But reading this, best sense third arrow is to increase U.S. oil production by 3 million barrels in oil a day. The only way to do that is to drill, baby, drill. And just like I said, if you're trying to do horizontal drilling and you're trying to get into stay as close to 100% of the time in the zone, so when you frack it, you're retrieving hydrocarbons. This technology is the best. All right, let's see what it says. U.S. oil production today is about 13 million barrels a day. It's incredible. That's just incredible. That's a miracle. $13 million barrels a day is the largest in the world for production and the largest ever by a single country. A 3 million barrel a day increase would be 23% higher. Now remember, you got decline curve, so he probably has to find, if he wants to achieve this, I would guess he's got to find 5 to 7 million barrels additional per day. This is entirely feasible given Trump's plans to expand oil and natural gas exploration and production on federal lands. Offshore drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, offshore drilling in the Atlantic, offshore drilling in the Pacific, off the Pacific coast, and off of Alaska. Fracking will be expanded in the shale deposits in Pennsylvania, New York, and elsewhere in the United States. The benefits are enormous, including higher profits for producers, lower prices for consumers, and increased revenue for the United States government. Lower energy prices fit nicely with best sense goals of higher growth, reduced deficits, and a reduction in the debt to GDP ratio. The result could be a virtuous circle. In addition to the 3 arrows, the other pillar of Trump's economic policies will be a return to the American system. From 1790 to 1962. The new American system is a result of 2 advisors, Robert Lighthizer and Peter Navarro. The American system was invented in 1790 by Alexander Hamilton and supported by leading figures including George Washington, Henry Clay, John Quincy Adams, Abraham Lincoln, William McKinley, Calvin Coolidge, and Dwight Eisenhower. That is so unfair. Those are all white men, and they're straight white men. How unfair is that? We better change that. let's bring in some Marxist feminists and just even it up. Anyway, the American system, invented in 1790, there were opponents. Let's skip over that. The system relied on infrastructure investment, public and private. I agree with that. Our infrastructure, there's a banker, sorry, I'm raising my voice, I don't know why. There's a banker who's dead now. He died at age 63. But I really liked him. I developed a relationship with him. I met him twice, listened to his presentations live on YouTube, but in person. And I spoke to him on the phone many times. Matt Simmons. And I read his book. Man, I've read that book, I don't know, 8 to 10 times. But anyway, one thing he would talk about is that we ignore is rust, R-U-S-T, rust. Every pipeline, every bridge, everything out rail that we've built with iron and steel that's not enclosed, rusts, bridges. And I forget his numbers. It was a while ago. It was probably 10 years ago. But it was some frightening stuff. For the United States to maintain its infrastructure is going to require trillions of dollars just to replace the steel and iron that's lost to rust. All right, so the first pillar of the American system is infrastructure investment. The second pillar is a strong army and navy to protect the United States, but not to fight foreign wars. The third pillar is a central bank with limited powers to provide liquidity to commerce. And the fourth pillar is, to the extent that there might be government spending, the idea was for the spending would be on productive projects such as canal and road building and railroads, etc. Not for printing money or stimulus. The American system prevailed from 1790 to 1962 with occasional periods of agrarian ascendancy and some disruptions such as the Civil War. Beginning after World War I, the neoliberal movement of Austrian economists and libertarians began to promote globalist policies of open borders, open capital accounts, and free trade. Of course, free trade is a myth because of subsidies and non-tariff barriers. Comparative advantage, you remember we talked about that the other day? For example, women, I don't know what percentage to give it, but in reproducing human beings, I think women have 100% comparative advantage over anything they do, unless they're, I can't think, a musician or a scientist or but anyway, comparative advantage is obsolete now because of the factors of production being highly mobile. That's exactly right. The neoliberals were living an ideological fantasy in which globalism was going to displace sovereignty. At a minimum, their goal was encasement of sovereigns in a larger orb of multilateral institutions such as the IMF, World Bank, WTO, and the United Nations. Beginning with the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, I'm sure you're all familiar with that one, the United States embraced the neoliberal consensus, including drastic tariff cuts. As jobs moved offshore to take advantage of cheap labor, capital followed. It went offshore. The result was the hollowing out, evisceration of U.S. manufacturing. The result was wage stagnation, slower growth, and greater debt. Joe Biden's open border policy was consistent with neoliberal views on the end of national sovereignty. Trump and his new economic team will return the United States to the pre-1962 glory days with the revival of the American system. Foreign companies will be free to sell goods to Americans, but only if they are manufactured in the US of A. This will lead to a wave of inbound investment in the United States, a reduction in U.S. trade deficits, a stronger dollar as the world demands dollars in order to make investments here, and higher wages for U.S. workers. Higher wages will raise real incomes, stimulate consumption, decrease income inequality, and expand the tax base to help reduce deficits without raising tax rates. Trump has already embraced elements of the American system with his announcement on November 25 that he intends to impose tariffs of 25% on all imports from China. My understanding is Elon Musk got him to reduce that to 10% on China. Anyway, impose tariffs of 25% on all imports from China, Canada, and Mexico using executive orders on his first day in office. In some ways, this is simply a continuation of tariffs on steel and aluminum from Canada and Mexico that Trump imposed in his first term. Trump also imposed across-the-border tariffs on imports over $500 million from China during his first term. Those tariffs were never rescinded by Joe Biden. So across-the-board tariffs on imports from China, $500 million. Trump said these new tariffs were in retaliation for China's role in producing fentanyl and the inadequate efforts of Canada and Mexico to keep fentanyl from entering the United States. That's a legitimate cause, but it's unlikely to be the real motivation. This is simply the opening round of far greater tariffs that Trump plans to impose on Mexican automobile imports to the United States, especially on electric vehicles and internal combustion engines produced in plants owned by Chinese interests. China has been trying to evade U.S. tariffs by building cars in Mexico and exporting those to the U.S. tariff-free under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. Critics say that agreement does not allow tariffs, but Trump can easily get around the treaty provisions by using a national security provision or just ignoring the treaty. The tariff wars escalated on November 30 when Trump announced he would use 100% tariffs as an economic weapon against any BRICS member who worked to create a new BRIC currency or backed any other currency to replace the mighty US dollar. You see, this is the battle that we've been talking about. The dollar's not going to go down without a fight. The banks are not going to go down without a fight. US economic interests are not going to go down without a fight. Russia and Iran are already subject to extreme US economic sanctions, but Brazil, China, and India are among the United States' largest trading partners. Tariffs of 100% are extreme. It seems unlikely that Trump cleared this statement with Scott Bessent. In fact, the BRICS are not currently working on a new currency, although they are working on a new global payment system to bypass SWIFT and Eurodollar banks. Any 100% tariffs of the kind described would definitely result in retaliation. It would hurt US companies such as Boeing, John Deere, Cargill, Dow Chemical, and Koch Industries. It may be that Trump is just trying to draw some lines in the sand. Tariffs are a perfectly legitimate economic policy instrument, although they can be overused. Sanctions are a form of financial warfare and are tantamount to an act of war. Thank you, Samantha Powers, Victoria Nuland, Hillary Clinton, Anthony Blinken. The irony is that the BRICS would not be seeking a new payment system and a possible currency had it not been for the extreme sanctions placed on Russia, Iran, and China. Russia, Russia, Russia. Hillary didn't lose. Russia interfered. Come on, Hillary. Lost in this back and forth is the fact that BRICS already have an alternative to the United States dollar. And it is, what is it? It's called gold. Trump's team does not think of gold as a currency, but as a monetary asset. Sorry, Trump's team does not think of gold as a currency, but gold is a monetary asset and a store of value that can be transferred among countries periodically to settle net trade balances. That's why there's no rush to develop an alternative to the dollar. It already exists. Still, this tariff threat is not cost-free. It creates economic uncertainty where there is no real need to do so. It dilutes Trump's message on tariffs. Hopefully, this BRICS tariff threat will fade with the next news cycle. Anyway, then he goes on to talk about the tsunami of executive orders. We'll skip all that. He makes a whole list of them. I'm going to skip that. It's a page and a half long. All right, so the 2025 predictions for your portfolio. Now that Trump is in the White House, or when this was written on the way, it's not too soon to start building a portfolio which will outperform the stock market over the next 4 years. Here are our predictions for specific performance under the 3 arrows and the new American system, and comments on winning and losing sectors. Oil and natural gas drilling, production, and refining. This sector will benefit from Trump's drill baby drill policies, including leasing on federal lands, increased offshore drilling, replenishment of the strategic petroleum reserve, new pipelines, and expanded refinery capacity. Prediction: oil prices will fall in 2025. No one ever gets oil prices right, but that seems reasonable. Mining, another winner. Mining, gold, silver, copper, lithium. Industrial metals will be in increased demand related to the expansion of U.S. manufacturing. The United States will expand its capacity in these areas, in part to be resilient to embargoes by China and Russia. Precious metals will be in demand as a hedge against geopolitical uncertainty and as a non-digital store of wealth. Prediction: gold prices will rally in 2025. Defense, another winner. Defense and national security. This will especially benefit defense and intelligence contractors with extensive R&D programs. The United States does not need more obsolete weapons. We need newer and more sophisticated weapons to keep up with the high-tech systems that Russia is using. AI will be a valuable tool in the intelligence analysis, especially from open sources. Prediction: Kratos, which is KTOS, Leidos, which is LDOS, and Palantir, PLTR, will all rally in 2025. That's KTOS, that's LDOS, and PLTR will all rally in 25. Automobile manufacturing, another winner. Automobiles, foreign manufacturers will face huge tariffs. This will include Mexican manufacturers who are fronts for China. And prediction is Ford Motor Co. will outperform the market in 2025. That's a brave call. That's a brave call. Those trucks are sitting on the lots, unsold. Other winners and some losers. Cryptocurrency plays will be a winner. Banking and finance will be a winner. Trucking and airlines will be a winner. Sectors who will lose will be big pharma, big agriculture, because of Make America Healthy Again. And government contractors in sectors such as healthcare, education, the Green New Scam, according to him, will be hurt. Portfolios that invest heavily in China will underperform. That's Jim Rickards. All right, I'll leave that there. The stock that they're recommending, the oil stock they're recommending, is Marathon Petroleum. It's a good one. Do you know who the Senate rhinos are? You want to know? The Senate rhinos? There's a lot of them. Mitch McConnell, John Thune, John Cornyn, Joni Ernst, I guess she got in because her husband died or something, James Lankford, Tom Tillis, John Barrasso, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Bill Cassidy, and Mike Rounds. That's 11 rhinos. All right, let me just go to his portfolio. Let's see. The companies that are still in his portfolio: Newmont Mining, Fortuna Silver Mines, First Majestic Silver, Equinox Gold, Ovintiv Inc., L3 Harris Technologies, Crescent Energy, CF Industries, Essential Utilities, Baxter International, PIMCO 25-year zero coupon ETF. We have to look that one up. David Hunter's calling for U.S. interest rates to go down, so a zero coupon ETF would be interesting. iShares 1 and 3 year Treasury ETF, Franco-Nevada Corp, APA Corporation. Where did you hear that one first? ConocoPhillips, lovely. Wheaton Precious Metals, B2 Gold Corp, Schlumberger, Sprott Uranium Miners, Intel Corp, Barrick Gold, Agnico Eagle Mines. That's their portfolio. You can subscribe to this guy if you wanted to. Where can you subscribe? Who can you email? Doesn't seem to have a, Strategic Intelligence website at paradigmpressgroup.com, paradigmpressgroup.com. All right, that was my prequel. Now let's, I have to do it this way. Let's see. Good morning, Dita. Grand Rising, Lion of All Trades. So everybody, Lion of All Trades is a good technician. But remember, I think we got the HNRC idea from Lion of All Trades. I like it still. I like that idea, but my memory is Lion of All Trades brought it to us. XRP is now under 275. Bitcoin is back below 100,000. Well, I was listening on Bitcoin. I don't know what to think, but I just finished, it's over there. I just finished a book on the Weimar Republic, and I'm starting another one, and then I'll be finished. But I just want to get some ideas in my head about what happened. And anyway, the gentleman I just listened to last night, I forget his name, but he was pointing out, he's an older guy, British guy. He was pointing out that Bitcoin is a lot like the young speculators in Germany 100 years ago. The older generation invested in bonds and property and stodgy securities and other things, maybe some diamonds and gold, I don't know. Just, in other words, traditional investments. But the younger men and women, but primarily the young sons, were investing in these speculative stocks. They had inflation, they had the war going on, and these younger generation of men became rich while their fathers had a relative decline in standing. And anyway, it was this guy's concept that it's possible, we just don't know, that Bitcoin is a generational investment, and older dudes don't understand it. But if Bitcoin becomes a generational investment, I don't know, what is this generation called? I don't know. But anyway, a Gen Z, Gen X, New Gen, or whatever, that it may be here to stay, and it may be something that is in the psyche of millions of investors, and older dudes just don't get it. Okay, the S&P, there's a lot of people calling for a crash in the S&P again. A lot of hedge funds are short the S&P. There's a lot of predictions on the tariffs that it's going to crush the market. Everywhere I read, all of a sudden, are predictions of doom and gloom in the stock market. I agree with those predictions, only I think, and I could be wrong, only I think it's going to be later. Stock markets don't correct when everybody's calling for it. That's my experience. Stock markets go in the direction that people don't expect. And I still stand by, and I have it here. Oh, I put it here. It's under. I still stand by my very high projections. Let me see if I wrote them in this notebook. No. Of course not. I don't have them in front of me. But in general, I think the markets are going to 25%, 50% higher than where they are now, based on the indices. And I even think the technology stocks are all going to go up. I think bull markets climb a wall of worry. I think this will be a blow off top. Everybody will be getting in. Everybody. Shorts will be covering. That's my prediction. The biggest risk to my prediction that we're going to go up like a son of a gun is the bond market. And so you got to pay attention to that. But that's what I think. I don't think the market's collapsing right now. But I do think, let's say the Dow goes up 30% from here. After that, I think we're going down 90%. 90. That's not pretty. Men can get pregnant now? How? Sorry. I agree with you. It feels like, if we were at war, if we were at a declared war, a lot of the things going on, so know what? So know what? Son, oh what? Son of what? So now what? See, I'm quick. But if we were at war, so now what? What the things going on with our hatcheries, with the rail derailments, the chemical spills, cattle destruction, fires, all of this, it would be seen as sabotage behind enemy lines. Tariffs will make shorts cover. Get ready. Could be. Um, I think people are really confused what's going to happen, and it's hard to think it through. I think liquidity is going to win because it's already there. Not that anybody has to do anything new. The U.S. dollar is strong and maybe will remain so. So capital will flow here, maybe. And there's a self-reinforcing nature to investments in a lot of these markets. I don't see a market crash yet. There has to be outrageous enthusiasm first. It has to get to the point, dare I say it? I'm not going to say it. It's too risky. But it has to get to the point where everybody's talking about it. And they're not right now. They're not. Everyone's talking about the risk. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Halliburton is a great company, Lion. Schlumberger is as well. The offshore, the drilling company like Rig, great company. I'm not going to read it now, but I like this idea of Marathon Oil. Sorry, Marathon Petroleum. But it's a very expensive stock. I like Exxon and Chevron and APA. I don't know Crescent Energy, but I bet that's a good story. We'll have to look it up. Drill, baby, drill. And that's why they call it the blues. Time on my hand. I am out. Strategic Works is out. What did I say? Well, thanks for being here for a little while. So now what? That's the funny part. Junk from overseas is never cheaper. Yeah, I agree with Strategic Works that we're the ones paying for it. It's a way of taxing. It's a consumption tax. 1836 seems just like yesterday. Tariffs will be good for America. I guess, but if everybody raises tariffs, it just, I don't know, we get back to where we were. We'll see what happens. I don't think the initial rise in tariffs is as critical as the prediction over time, because that's what companies make decisions on, is longer term projections, not quarter to quarter. It's Florence, y'all. Do you know where that is? It's Florence, y'all. Do you know where that is? All right, let's go back down here. Hal got contracts with Iraq. Look it up. I know that. Dick Cheney was the chairman of that, and when the war happened, that was a huge controversy. How did Halliburton get contracts to supply food to the army and other things, in addition to oil and gas? Kitteridge, the latest George Gammons video explains one key statistics which could drive indices much higher. What is it? Let me write that down. George Gammons. Sounds familiar, but off the top of my head, I'm not sure I watch him. So I'm going to George Gammons, 2 M's, Vigio. All right, I'll see if I can listen to him. Anything on Nixie? Not really, Arat. I mean, not specifically, but I did talk to some people who own it. And there's a sense that Nixie is going to go to $6. I didn't really get a time frame, but I don't know how. Can I show you the charts? Maybe I can. It's going to be tricky to do this without my computer. Arat, let me see if I can. No, I can't. I can't show you. I can't show you I can't share this screen. So anyway, Arat, 2 things. I just told you, I spoke to people involved and they believe the stock's going to go back to 6. Secondly, the chart looks good, but I can't show it to you. The chart looks like it's turning positive. So if I had to guess, Arat, Nixie can have a nice trade upward. So what's the import of all that? What's the import of all that? I don't think the play in Nixie is over with at all. To the extent that I expected it to be possibly a short squeeze play, because we look back over to the recruiter.com trading. I assume there's a short position in it. As time goes by, one lesson I've learned, I don't know if it's correct, and I don't know if you think it's a lesson, is that the criminals, the shorters, the counterfeiters, the more time they have, the more they get situations under control. It seems to me that short squeezes seem to come when it's like a perfect storm. You need a hurricane, you need a storm coming off the coast, and you need high waves, and then you get that perfect wave. So my point on Nixie is we did see it trade up with 50 million shares to $12. I don't think that's all she's going to write by the end of the day. I think there's going to be another burst of trading. Why? Just mainly because if there is a huge short, it didn't get covered at that time. But to me, offsetting that is the surprise is gone. It's been 3 months or so. So what's the import? The stock's now down to 250. From this level, it looks like a reasonable gamble on a short squeeze. That, they've put out press that they want to be $1 billion company. Okay. One of my thoughts is they projected that out over time. That could happen much sooner. You never know. But once it's announced, sometimes things happen more quickly. That could make it go a lot higher. But anyway, I don't think you've seen the last splurge of volume trying to cover shorts. But what it means is from 250 to get a, I don't know, to get a 5x, you know, you go into your teens, you go to 10 or 12 or $15 if it happens. That's a nice trade. From where it was at 6 or 7, that would have been harder to do. So I like Nixie here, and I think we might be surprised at how quickly it recovers and goes higher. But my favorite is RAILF, RLAIF. Right now, I'm not negative. I'm not negative on Nixie by any means. I think RLAIF could do the same thing and more. Anyway, we've got a handful of stocks to follow. It's all about scarcity. The rule change added to Tesla's earnings because of Bitcoin. Yeah, that's interesting. And also, what's his name's company out at Tyson's Corner? I'm forgetting his name right now. It's not Mailer. Anyway, that technology firm, Middle Ground. I import from China and will be rising prices immediately. Yeah. Hey, KYP, hang around for a little while. Ham will be here. I just don't know when. Probably less than 15 minutes. Let me see if he called. I don't know if he did. No, he didn't call you. He'll be on. He'll be on, KYP.
Battery 40%. Connected to.
Maduro stated that he wants to liberate Puerto Rico from the United States with the help of Brazil. Well, it's an interesting point of view. That would be interesting. I guess I'm guessing, but I've visited there several times, and I try to follow it because I wouldn't. Part of me thinks of moving there. I'm not sure everyone in Puerto Rico wants to be liberated from the United States. I think they want to be treated more fairly, but I'm not sure they want to disengage from the United States. But I guess that'd be interesting to find out. Anything on Finger? I'm not in the loop, but it doesn't look good. No. Let's see where Finger closed. $126, I think, is where it closed. I guess, Beth, the bad, if you just want to look at it as it, I was taught when I was very young, the way to look at a stock is if you had to make an investment today. So if you already own it, you don't own it, or I suppose if you're short it, or if you want to add to it, just look at it as, okay, would I buy it today? So if we look at it as that, finger motion, would I buy it today? Just the risks, I think, are maybe fourfold. One is the criminals, the shorts, the hedge funds, the offshore sellers of stock that don't exist continue to do so. There's no enforcement of settlement. in Adina Friedman's NASDAQ. There's no attempt to supervise those rules by Robert Cook's FINRA. There's absolutely no interest on the settlement side or asking for delivery on the part of brokerage firms and broker-dealers. The Securities and Exchange Commission under Gary Gensler and probably under Atkins has no inclination to force settlement. So that's one risk, is that Finger will be on the continued onslaught of selling, number one. Number two, Finger does business in China. Is debatable, but I would throw out there that, as Rickards just did and others do, that as percentages of U.S. portfolios, Western portfolios, maybe there's a bias against Chinese stocks. Certainly earnings in yuan may not translate so well, at least in the short run, if the yuan, if the renminbi loses value and the dollar is strong. So there's a macro, there's a currency Chinese company risk, number two. Number three, which I don't think's necessarily going to show up in the next weeks or months, but I think Finger Motion will need to raise additional money. So if the first two negatives cascade and the stock stays here over the next, let's say, 6 months, it's possible they have to raise more money down at these levels, so that's a risk. And I'm going to use number 4, Beth, as a risk, although it's more philosophical is not the right word. It's more optics. But Finger Motion has yet to sort of become a concise story with a very predictable, repeatable, visible earnings and earnings growth. And as long as you can't really answer, what does Finger do? How much does it make? What's its revenue? What's its, those, it makes it a stock that to an institutional buyer, as soon as you go longer than 45 seconds, they're going to start looking at the sports scores, looking at their screen, checking messages from the chick they went out with last night. They're not going to listen. So that has to change. Those are, I guess, my 4 negatives. And on the first one, by the way, their goal, the criminal's goal of selling, is to get it under $1. Don't panic. That's not going to automatically cause any kind of mandate to reverse split or anything like that. That takes months, if not a year, before that would eventualize. So what are the positives? And I think the positives outweigh the negatives in Finger right now. But Beth, I don't share the view that Finger is going to go to the moon tomorrow. But here's the positives. I don't know how many there are, so I won't predict it. Number 1, it looks like the offering that Roth Capital did is recovering. So it's possible. The verdict is out. But number 1, it looks like Roth is going to support, whether they do it actively or it's just a result of the breadth of their institutional clientele, it looks like Roth Capital is going to support the offering they did at $1.50. We'll find out, but that's a potential positive. Secondly, it's rumored that Roth Capital is going to come out with a very positive research report. My opinion, it's going to be market neutral, and it's going to have a target of $1.50, $2. But Ham has much higher numbers on that, and we'll just find out. To me, though, Beth, the biggest positive of the Roth Capital research report, I think it'll be in depth. I think it will discuss all these parameters of risks, reward that we discuss, and I think it's going to really help people make decisions, good decisions. In other words, positive decisions to own the stock. I'm looking forward to the Roth Capital research report. So that's number 2. Number 3, what's coming up is fourth quarter earnings. Those should come out. We got to wait a bit, but those should come out around April 15th. Based on my interviews with Martin and other discussions with other people, it looks like fourth quarter is going to be very clear in revenues, cash flow, and earnings, and likely, not a promise, not even really a prediction, but hoping that the fourth quarter shows positive earnings. Earnings for the last many quarters have been, I don't know, -2 cents, minus a penny, -3 cents, -4 cents a share. If fourth quarter earnings come in positive, and by the way, I'm not saying it's going to be anything earth-shattering, but instead of -2 cents, maybe you get positive 1 penny. It's still essentially flat. But the critical thing will be, Beth, is if the fourth quarter, they gain purchase in that contract they have to build out emergency response vehicle systems. I don't know what else to call it. They call it the C2 contract. And we get some visibility on how big it is, how repeatable it is, what's the ongoing. Is it just a one-off profit, or is it profitable, but is it a one-off revenue recognition, or does it have long-term income streams? We might even get some clarity on their insurance businesses. So anyway, fourth quarter could be a real guidepost for their 2026 earnings, which is our 2025. I'm optimistic on that. I think Finger Motion could lay out a picture that is strong. We have to see. It hasn't happened yet. So combining all of that, I think, and as another positive, I think Finger Motion might be entering into the time when their revenues, cash flows, and earnings are clearly definable. They're predictable, they're repeatable, and they're growing. And the story can be told in 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute. And then you might see the stock price up. And then if it stays up, you I think, would see pressure from the prime brokers on the large positions, maybe if they exist, I think they do, of failed to deliver stock. So I'm positive about that. Now, I think I think the future is positive for finger motion. And if Ham calls in, we'll hear what he thinks. I'm not negative on it at all. I think the stock chart looks good, by the way. Maybe that was a huge hit when it went from 250 to 150, but the chart looks like it's recovering. And like I say, my target's $1.50, maybe 180, $2, 210. But if it gets, and then it'll, it needs to recover. But if it gets through that, to my memory, $4 would be achievable. So no, I'm positive on finger. When Ham calls in, I'll try to remind me on G-Bucks. But Ham already said yesterday to put, actually now I don't remember, but to put half your stock out at a relatively low number, which I can't remember now, and then hold the rest for a squeeze. That's what I think he thinks, is there's going to be a squeeze. And he also thinks there's going to be a fundamental story that's going to be very positive to the share price of G-Bucks. I think G-Bucks might be a good time to use what one of my managers always taught me. Of course, I was young and stubborn and I didn't listen. But when you have a stock that rallies and you already own it, once it doubles from your purchase price, sell a third of your position. And then I didn't quite understand his strategy beyond that, but essentially if it doubles again, sell another third. That part seemed to be open to interpretation if it had another move, But anyway, and then hold the last third for the much higher prices. And you know what? If I had done that all my life, it'd be interesting to see where I am. I think that might be a good advice with G-Bucks. I like G-Bucks. I don't own it, of course. Yeah, Dita, I liked that concept when he said it. It sounded very reasonable. More than that, it sounded like an explanation of what's going on. Investing in psychology is all right. No, all right. So, can you hear me now? Ham?
I can hear you.
Ham is here. All right, let's just don't go to the races. Let's make sure we're live. Looks like I'm back. Can anybody hear me? Is anybody out there?
I hear you.
I know. Nobody's responding. So, okay, yes, I got 2 yeses. Go ahead and go, Ham.
All right. I met a couple of shareholders yesterday, and I went out for a couple of drinks with them. And one gentleman, Paulie, he just had a breakup with his boyfriend, who's in Mark R, is in Aruba. And I just want to let Mark know that Paulie's okay. He's gotten over you, and we're going to move on from that. All right. So I just want to make sure.
You're in relationship advice now?
I'm giving relationship advice between these 2 wonderful guys. All right. Paulie was brokenhearted yesterday that his boyfriend, Mark R, had vamoosed to Aruba with somebody else. So anyway, they're good people, and they just wanted to make sure let Mark R know that Paulie's over him. So that's off the table now. So William, I am a firm believer in getting ready for the week that's coming up. All right. We all know that there's many unknowns, and I like to make people get aware, and this way they can, invest or do what they're doing, just to be ahead of the curve. I don't like to come into the market and try to address it when it opens up. I try to look ahead, and that's how we worked on the trading desk. Is that the 70 stocks that I did follow, I had to be aware of what earnings were coming out, things like that. So we were always trained to work on the weekend. It wasn't like we went to work on Monday and we just, closed our eyes and we start trading.
Right.
We did some homework, believe it or not, and understood what we talked, if there was something negative around the stock the week before, be careful. There's things like that we talk about. In finger motion, there's so many crazy things that are going on with this crooked stock market. I feel it's always best to go over it so people understand it. There's no football games today, so I figured that we just recap for everybody and just try to go over the things that we do know. And like yesterday when I was speaking with the 2 gentlemen, they both said to me, when you recap, they pick up on things that they missed or didn't understand, so that's why I go over it. I did tell them that there's a lot of people that come on these calls that are law enforcement. I know that. They tell me they're coming on, and also I like to there's reporters on here sometimes, and different people, Christian Shaughnessy introduced me to a reporter yesterday, and I'm going to try to work with them and help them out and give them a story. So there's a lot of things that go on, and that's why you see me take a step back, go forward. The market's closed today, and it's easy to do. There's no football, and I'm not going to do it for a long time, but I just want to go over the things that I believe are happening, and I'll touch a little bit about DJT. Matter of fact, why don't I start with DJT? Since yesterday, I was with someone last night that has connections to Devin Nunes, and he told me they are on lockdown right now about making short selling. Meaning not that we don't know why they're not talking about it, but they're not addressing it. People bring it up in conversation all the time to Devin, I hear, and I have to believe they're quiet for a reason.
Maybe he wants his appointees approved first.
I think that that's what the thinking is, that the SEC is going to get in here, and they're going to that's what my friend said too. He thinks the SEC is going to be the one to drop the bomb on these guys. All right, that's where we think it's going to come from, is the SEC under instructions of Trump. And this way they don't have to take responsibility for it, which I told you a long time ago that Trump should have exposed this before he became president, but Devin was doing it for him. So I think that is going to be addressed by the SEC when they're appointed. All right, because I know people that have spoken to Devin, okay, and there's no feedback about when they're doing anything. There's just no feedback, and maybe he's being told to shut up. I don't know. So I just wanted to give you a feeling about that. I am a believer in buy the dip on this one, sell the rip, and if you do buy the dip and sell the rip, always buy those cheap options. And you could see the other day the options were 40 cents, 50 cents. The stock exploded to 35. It didn't hold up there, but you had the chance to sell them. I had people that sold the 31s at like almost $3. to 31 and a half. I think they were selling at 250, something like 230, 240. So there was nice trades in there for everyone who did that, who bought the dip, sold the rip, and bought some options. There was a nice opportunity. So that opportunity still exists. And you can do that in any name. You can do it in NVIDIA, you can do it in Tesla. You know, if you're trading those names, again, remember, they're dangerous. But if you buy them and flip it, take some profit, you can use those profit to buy calls and don't look at it, you know. You know, one time I always tell William, I had a story. I had a feeling in Tesla it was 275. I bought the 300s that expired that day. And it was down 20 points and it rallied back. And when it hit 300, it exploded past 300. Options I paid a quarter for, I sold at $3 with 4 minutes left in the day. So I made at least 30, 40,000, I think, on that trade. I paid 25 cents for them. They look like death. And I wound up selling at $3 or $4. On Monday, that was expiration Friday. On Monday, the stock gapped open up 100. So, you know, sometimes they go all the way, sometimes they don't, but the stock was a perfect buy the dip, sell the rip. Unfortunately, my options expired. I was jumping up and down, making 40 grand. I said, that's a great trade for the day. I didn't even think about rolling into the next week options because that's not my thing. And they exploded. The stock opened up 100 and stayed up 100. So that was a massive trade that day. So again, buying the dip, selling the rip, and that's the way I play. And I don't look back, even though you get sick a lot. You know, I'm here to make money. I'm not here to hit home runs every day. That leads me to when I do find a stock that I believe is a home run, like Finger Motion. Finger Motion, if it was $20, I told everyone it would be very dangerous. It would be manipulated like DJT. It would go to 25, it would go to 18. It would be all over the place. It would be a tough thing to live through or to invest in because it would be so wild. Right now, there's no volatility in the name because the shorts can't push it down. All right. One of the gentlemen that I met yesterday, he's a big buyer of stock, and he's laughing because they keep trying to knock his bids out. And he goes, they're giving it to me cheaper. He tried to pay 124 the other day. They gave it to him at 123. I mean, just think about it. These guys are willing to take less. Even if it's a penny, they take less because they need to manipulate the stock. And the only reason they manipulate the stock is to try to con you or KYP to panic out. See, William, I know KYP is going to panic, and that's what they try to do now. They panic her out all the time.
She's not as scared of you. She's not panicking.
I just want to make sure she's not going to panic. I don't like people who panic. We got to stand tall. When you're standing on the firing line, you got to stand there.
You guys the two of you need to get on a tournament ladder and start knocking out.
She would be a good partner for you.
Exactly.
I got that feeling. Because anyone who talks shit as much as me as I do, I would want to have on my team. Except when they start climbing over the net to come get me. I hope she doesn't run away and leave me hanging out there. So anyway, I always, like I said, be prepared for Monday. Finger Motion, if you're buying the dip, let's say you want to buy 5,000 shares, you buy 1,000 at 130, 128, 125, 124, 123. Throw your bids out there, and hopefully you get hit. And if you are really nervous and you think your stock is going to go, because again, I don't know the second it's going to go. If you want to buy 5,000, you just buy 2,000 on the opening, and then you bid for the 3,000 lower. And 2,000 is a nice position to have. If you're buying 5, you buy 2. At least you're in the game, and then you can average down with the other 3. So if you're nervous and you want to buy it, you do it the way I say. You're just buying 1,000 shares. You could buy, 300 on the opening, and then you bid for the 700 as it comes in. All right. I'm a believer in trying to always get lower. Listen, a penny, 2 penny in your favor, is much better than in their favor. So you got to look at it that way. I told you Wall Street's about pennies. That's the whole thing. These algorithms trade for half a penny, so a tenth of a penny. You can see all the weird numbers we get all the time. These guys are trading in 5 decimals out. They're just trading to make anything. And that's what they do. A million trades, And out of the million trades, they want to win 800,000 times and just win a penny. The other, 200,000 times, if they break even or lose a half a penny, they're a winner. And they do it across the spectrum in all different names. So you have to understand, you saving a penny is good for you. And those pennies add up. Trust me, they add up. And that's what the most important thing is about. Some people told me that some of these firms, they charge you a commission. If anyone's getting charged a commission, go find one of these online firms and do it for no commission. So, don't be stupid. I believe Fidelity doesn't charge a commission. I think Schwab or someone else does. You shouldn't be paying anything to trade. So think about that. If you are someplace that's charging a commission, move it to another firm and trade for free. Because if you buy a stock at $2 and you don't like it, you want to sell it at $2. If you're at a firm that's trading with no commissions, you don't lose anything. But think about buying a stock at $2, selling it at $1.99, and you got to pay a commission after you lose a penny. It's basically you're down to $1.98. You lose 2 cents. So if you can find one, go find a firm that doesn't charge commissions. Don't just go to your advantage. Don't be lazy. Open the account. It takes a few minutes, and you can open an account. Everyone can do it online. Call them up if you have an account. Let's say at Robinhood, and they're charging you commission. You want to move it. Just call the new firm up, E-Trade, and say, I'd like to move my account from Robinhood. They'll take the instructions, the account number, and they could transfer electronic transfer your account. So it's an easy thing to do. No commissions. If you are paying commissions, shame on you. Most people are not paying commissions. A couple of people told me that they don't like to flip them because they pay commissions. I'm like, what? Who wouldn't this? No one's charging commissions anymore unless you're using a broker advising you. A broker giving you the heads up on different things, you got to pay him something. These guys are in the business to make money also. But for the most part, if you get the commission, get rid of it. It saves you more money. So be aware of that. And finger motion. Let's talk about what I spoke about my buddies yesterday. What is going to light this fuse? There's a couple of things. First, and we all thought the Reuters report was coming last week. We're getting closer to it no matter what. The CEO told you it's coming. Roth Capital is going to put a target somewhere between $8 and $12. They raised money at $1.50. They're not going to put a report. They're not going to put a buy, and the stock has a target of $2. Roth Capital knows about what the company's doing with that big truck deal, the emergency vehicles. They know the numbers. They know what's going on. So when they sold it to their clients to buy the stock at $1.50, they knew the report's going to come, and they're well aware of what's going on in the name. So Roth, from what I heard, is well aware what Finger Motion is doing. They understand the potential, and the CEO said they were really, quite happy about, what their relationship. You can listen to the CEO tell you that. If you watch the CEO's videos, there's many tidbits in there about where the company's going. He's telling you in the videos. He told us about the dividend that's upcoming, and they're waiting on the audit to be complete. The CEO has no choice but to do the dividend. So please don't think he's not doing it. It's 100% he's doing it, because he could be sued, because he told us that he was going to do it. So we know it's coming. As soon as the audit's complete, it'll happen. I hear many people trying to get audits in stocks. It's very difficult. Many companies have been trying to get audits, and it takes time. No one can force an accounting firm to move or slow down. They operate at their own pace. And let me just change the subject for 1 second. Someone put a big story up about JP Morgan and their accounting issues, how they've been have fraudulent accounting. I spoke to a woman that worked for, what was one of the big accounting firms, from KPMG, was it?
Yeah.
What was it? And she worked for them, and she was a top executive. And she told me 20 years ago to go after the auditors. The auditors will give up and expose the whole thing. That's what she told me. I tried to go after the brokerage firms just on that, because the brokerage firms that are short these stocks, a lot of them earn commission for doing these trades. And that commission is included in revenue. But if they never completed the transaction, meaning they never closed out that commission trade that they did with you, how can they count that as earnings? And it goes back to your old college days in accounting. You know, if Frank Sinatra was giving a concert, and when the minute he finishes the concert, he collects $5 million, let's say, from ticket sales. He doesn't get that money until he finishes the show. So in the stock market, these guys are selling shares, not delivering them, not settling them. Their accounting numbers were all wrong, because sometimes these stocks that we purchase, we've been not settled for 2 years. Think about these firms reporting this as income. It's completely false. They never earned it yet. But again, that takes lawyers and money to try to expose. But I was always told to go after the accountants, and the accountants would be the first to give up everybody. That's what I was always told. So it's an interesting thing, but I don't have the resources to go to start bringing in attorneys going after the accountants. But JP Morgan, it's on Twitter, William, got caught doing fraudulent accounting. I think it was $2 billion that overstated earnings or something like that. It's on Frankie Nez, put it out also. If you can see it on Twitter, if anybody wants to read it. But going back to finger motion for a second, I just had that thought. We know the Roth report's coming out. We know the number's going to be higher than $1.50. So the stock down here is just being held down by naked short sellers, hoping to get people to give up on it. That's what's going on. And people are not giving up. As a matter of fact, people are getting stronger, because everyone I speak with or bump into seems to be adding more. It doesn't seem like anybody's throwing in the towel. It's like that people actually, they're building up strength, and they're getting more confident that what's going to happen here. So it's very different. That's the feeling I get. You know, I know people on the call saying, I've been here for 3 years and I haven't been, all that nonsense. But in the stock market, you have to have a feeling about what's going to happen. And the feeling I have is that this is going to happen soon. There's too many things in our favor. You got the Roth report. You got the special dividend. We're going to have the year end in finger motion at the end of February. William, is that correct?
Well, their 2025 year ends the end of February. Their fourth quarter ends the end of February. So earnings normally come out 45 days after the end of the quarter. So it should be April 15th, approximately.
So that's coming up, and that, I believe, is going to start having those numbers from these truck sales, which we can all find out how much money we're making on these trucks, the installation. And for those, the gentleman I spoke with yesterday, they said the same thing to me, and they finally understood it, that the fix is in, that this company's got tremendous connections in China, and they're not winning these contracts by a lottery. They're getting contracts in all different areas, from top-up minutes to the cell phone minutes, the text messaging, to the insurance data, to cell phone insurance, and now we have the truck installation of the satellite equipment. It's all different areas. Don't get me wrong, it seems to be all around communication, but these guys seem to be getting all these major opportunities. And it takes time to grow these opportunities, but when they do kick in, which one's going to be the home run first? My personal opinion, I think it's going to be this truck installation. I think it's going to be followed up by the insurance data. That's been going on for 2.5 years now, 3 years. And like Martin said, if the insurance algorithm isn't correct, the insurance companies will lose money. So they have to make sure that their algorithms are tested properly. And Finger Motion has said they've been doing that. So things just seem to be going in our favor, getting closer. And the other thing, that the big unknown, is whether the Trump's going to speak, And now we have a new addition to it, the Northwest Bio lawsuit, which is going to go to discovery. And none of these firms want to have discovery. No one wants anybody to see what they're doing. So what's going to happen, William, with Northwest Bio? I can expect that these firms are going to come in and offer money to settle. That's what's going to happen. And like Credit Suisse did, They sealed it and shut it down for 50 years. So my guess is Northwest is going to settle. Let's say they get 50 million. West will take his cut. The company will get the money, and then they're going to sign an agreement with non-disclosure where they can't speak about it. But the company will get some sort of money. My personal opinion is the company, I would never settle with them, but they're going to keep dragging it out. The brokerage firms keep dragging out these cases. Was it like 3 years now, 2.5 years to get to a spoofing case? I told you spoofing I see it every day. I report spoofing. It's easy to see. And that's the case that West is working on with Northwest Bio. When West was hired to go after GTII, we sent him all the stuff on spoofing, and he just couldn't seem to get his head around it. And it ended because West couldn't figure out about the spoofing. Although West did go the wrong way. In GTII's case, West should have went after Alpine because he had the proof from the SEC and the DTC that Alpine was crooked. That's who he should have went after in the beginning. But, I'm not an attorney. That's up to West. All right, I wasn't funding it. So, again, that's a black hole. It's a lot of money to put up. And it's taken 3 years. And, if you put up $2 or $3 million with West and your partner, you could potentially make, 3-4 times that money on a settlement with the big brokerage firms. So that's what I feel is going to happen. But that settlement will get everybody and make everyone confident that this is going to happen. And I've always been a believer, William. Let's not fight this battle in a courtroom. Let's fight it on the battlefield. The brokerage firms, the short sellers, want to fight these battles in a courtroom. They steal $100 million. If they pay back $50 million, they're still plus 50. If you squeeze them, they just get wiped out. And that's the game with finger motion. We're here to squeeze it until Jeff Easton's fucking eyes pop out of his head. That's what we're here about. Phil Lavaliere, all these people that work with him, they all belong in jail. I put up the picture of the woman. I forgot her name. She's the chief operating officer. These people know everything about where the dead bodies, all the criminal activity is. The FBI, DOJ should just grab them and then them all turn on Jeff Easton. That's the way I look at it from a law enforcement side. So when I send stuff to the law enforcement, I'm giving them those people first. And I've been putting it up on Twitter. She knows where all the wires are going. She knows where the income is coming in. You can't turn a blind eye to security fraud. Like I said before, when you rob a bank, even the getaway driver goes to jail. He wasn't in the bank, but he was the driver, and that part of the crime family, they all get caught. So they all deserve it. So finger motion has tremendous opportunities that are coming up. Roth report, you got the update on the financials coming out with the earnings. We believe we'll get that the truck information in there. We'll get to finally see how much they make and how profitable it is, which we've been hearing it is very profitable. We're going to have the dividend. And for those who don't understand the dividend again, if you get 1,000 shares, it's 1 for 10. So you'll get 100 shares as a dividend. If the stock goes to 100, let's say the dividend is exercisable at 3, you'll make $97 or $9,700 for your 100 shares that you got for free. The company is not giving out special dividends because they like all of us. The company is giving out special dividends to screw the shorts. So you understand that. This company, from big shareholders, the message has been sent, kill the shorts, give out the dividend. You don't have to give out a lot, which they didn't, 1 for 10. But if they give out 1 for 10, but only 50 million shares in the company, that means the dilution will be 5 million dividend shares. That's all that'll be distributed is 5 million. But let's say the exercise price is 3. 5 million times 3, if it goes crazy, the stock, those dividends, the company will raise $15 million at $3. And it comes from every shareholder. It won't be concentrated, William. So we wouldn't be getting $15 million from one person. It'd be thousands and thousands of shareholders, each setting in their $3 to get their 1,000 shares. You give them $3,000, you sell your stock at 70, whatever it is. So everyone will exercise at different prices. I may exercise at 20, William exercise at 50, the next guy may exercise at 100. You pay the company 3, and you'll get stock, and you'll be able to sell it at that price. So there's a lot of positive things here. And again, the most important thing is that the $1.50 was the price of the secondary. Roth's report has got to be north of that. So the risk in the stock, to me, is up. We've been saying that since $2. The risk is up. Even though it's pulled back 75 cents, where we got this attack on this thing, the risk has always been up, not down. There's no way I would short this stock at $1.50 or $2, knowing what I know, and I don't give a shit how powerful shorts are. That's a stupid trade, unless you are protected. Protected meaning Lynn Partners is protected in KNWN now. They have a toxic note, which gives them the right to convert it to penny. And that's what I'm sure they're doing. They sold the stock at 70 cents, 60 cents, 50 cents. Imagine selling 10 million shares at 50 cents, right? They got $5 million and they get back in at 2 cents. So they make 4.8 million. 20 million shares at 50 cents, they're up 10 million. Just do the math. They've been selling this stock down from 90 cents. Let's say their average, I'll say the average is 50 cents. But the thing is, I don't know how many they sold. Is it 20? Is it 30 million shares? 30 million shares times 50 cents is a lot of money. All right, these guys gave the company 4 million and make back 30 million or 20 million, whatever the number may be. Those are great trades, and that's what they do. So Finger Motion has a lot of great things coming on. It's all on the tape. Watch the video of the CEO tonight. If you're interested, update yourself, watch it, take some notes on what he says. It's right there. The last 2 videos with William were fantastic. And he tells you the dividends come in. He talks about the truck. They're the only company in China that has the right to install the technology in these emergency response trucks. The only company. How does a company from the USA have the right to install emergency vehicle data in Chinese cars, and they're able to see the data? Think about what Finger Motion. You think they're tied to the Chinese government? Anybody here? And for the people that are sitting on their brains, the most people that own the stock are from Asia, and they know what's going on in this company. I met a lot of them when they rang the bell at the NASDAQ. William met a lot of them also. They're doctors. There's a couple of doctors. There's very wealthy people. I met a group of people from Singapore that are super wealthy, and they buy the stock and they don't care what the shorts do because they know what the value is of the company. So, I mean, this company's got great contacts in China, and I don't think people are paying attention to it. We know Lynn Partners, guy's got his head up his ass. He has no clue what's going on. Because every time they lend money to the company, William, what does Phil Lavalier say? What does he say, William?
We're terribly pleased to be investing with this company now in its growth. I forget what. Anyway, he's always glad to invest.
He's always glad. Even as the ship is sinking, he's still out there telling you, we're happy. We're down $4 million. We're thrilled about everything that's going on. Does anyone have any questions about Finger Motion?
Well, Beth was asking about Finger Motion because my view is a little less explosive to the upside in the short run. And so she just wanted to hear maybe your view on what's happening with Finger.
William is
to the
William
positive.
William is a professional. You guys don't realize he's a professional. He was a top-notch broker on Wall Street. I was in the trading end. I never did what William did. I couldn't open an account. I didn't even have a retail account, not one retail account. I never bought a penny stock until now. So William is a different character than me. And what I see, what I documented, has been following short squeezes. That's what I do. I am not here. And, I got stocks, you can trade it. A stock that goes from $1.30, where we are now, and goes to $7, that's a great trade for people if you want to take it. We already did that to 10, back up to 7, and I'm still here. I'm not going away. This stock has fundamental value to me and to the people that I met through Asia. We believe the stock's worth 100. Okay, and you know what? This is, to me, is the beginning of an Amazon or whatever you want to call it, Google, when these things were doing nothing way in the beginning. That's how I feel about it. I could see the potential. And when I started, this company was just doing top-up minutes. Now they got top-up minutes, text messaging, our cell phone insurance, charge up for your electric vehicles through an app. They're doing so many different things, I can't even keep up on it anymore. And they're all tied to the Chinese government. And with 1.7 billion people, all they have to do is a little business across all these all these new these business side ventures that they have. They're not spending any money to build, a satellite or like an MULN. They got to build a car. They're building nothing. They're getting paid. Everything they do is going to be cash flow positive. They just need to start them up, get some time underneath their feet, and then it'll go crazy. If you can't see it, it's right here. The CEO tells you. And if you don't see it, then, shame on me for even trying to teach you it, because you know what? You need to figure it out yourself. A little education is how you're going to win this game. Got it? You have to teach yourself. And I strongly believe that this stock is going way, way, way higher, because the people in Asia, a lot of people that I know, the big players, they're not here for $10. They're not here at all for that. We had $10 already, and they're still here.
And what's your time frame on your
Well, if I was a police officer and I threw him out of the window tomorrow, it'll be in an hour. But I'm not a police officer, so we have to wait for an event or the police to come through their door. That's where we're at right now. And I believe that I don't think we're going to need Trump, but I believe we have the events to make it happen. Whether it's the dividend, the top-up business, the emergency response vehicles. That the emergency response vehicles, to me, is going to tell us the gateway real fast of what's going on. Because if they're making $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 each installation, and which I heard there's over 4 million emergency response vehicles in China. All right, that's a lot of cars and trucks to do. It's going to take time, but once this company starts banging out, when they can do 10 or 20, do 20 a month, 20, 30 a month, these things will start just adding up. Imagine if they were making 30,000 a pop. That's a lot of money without spending any money. All they're doing is fronting money to buy the truck and the equipment and installing it, and they're making that difference, whatever the Chinese government's paying them to do.
This dividend better not take 6 months.
Okay, next question.
When will ZJYL rip?
Listen, we watch it every day. If you watch ZJYL, I told you I have friends that are very wealthy in GDC and ZJYL. When they tell me there's something coming, I'll tell you I don't know. I watch it like you. I'd rather pay $1.75 or $2 for it than 90 cents. I'd rather wait till it starts going. You'll start seeing. Listen, one morning it's going to gap up 50 cents through that trade, 3-4 million shares. That could be the time it's going to go. I don't know. But we're watching. I told you, ZJYL, to me, is very exciting because they did a 20-for-1 forward split. That's the only company that's done that. And the people that owned it when it was $300 now have 20 times more shares. Do you think they're dumping it at 80 cents when the stock was trading at 300? I don't believe so.
This doesn't mean to be confusing, but I think it's got a typo. Why right after doing? Anyway, I'm going to interpret this question. Do you think Fingers at a risk of doing a reverse split? They did a death spiral. No, but why
No,
do
listen,
you
I
have
can
a
answer. I
target
can
of
answer.
up to $100 a
I'm gonna.
share?
I'm
I
gonna
don't know.
give
I
you.
don't
I'm gonna
understand
give my
this question.
advice on all those questions. I think this is. I'm gonna be sarcastic. The company did a death spiral, and they got out of it.
Right.
Do you think they're gonna do it again?
No.
Second, do you think the company is gonna reverse the stock? And give me 2 reasons why they should reverse the stock. I don't understand. What's the reasoning?
Yeah. People have
And you
an
think
impression that once it goes under $1, they all do it. That takes months, if not a year, you know.
Listen, Finger Motion is pressing the bet with the dividend as fast as they can do it. The gentleman said 6 months. The CEO is waiting for an audit to be done in mid-December. The audit's gone longer. He's not the auditor on the company. So when the audit is ready, he will give out the dividend.
Right.
Again, for the gentleman who says it's going to take 6 months, just watch what the CEO is saying. There's no way. And if it takes 6 months, what are we going to say? The only people everyone on this phone should be pissed off about is not the CEO and its audit firm, is Lynn Partners and the scumbags that are running around. Everyone in this phone's attacks should be directed at those people, not the public company. Listen, I met the CEO of CELU. I went to his headquarters. It was right by the Jets practice facility, somewhere in North Jersey, near Morristown, I think it was. This guy was a neurosurgeon in a trauma center in New York City. The company CELU was a spinoff from Biogen. What's his crime? He took money from Yorkville. I told him, don't take it because this is what they're doing. He took the money because his board of directors or his lawyers told him he had to. He had no idea why his stock was going down. I was in his office showing him step by step what they were going to do. A good friend of mine told me to see him. I did. The message was sent back. We see it, we understand it, but our counsel says this. And they just listened to their lawyers. So they took the money, reversed the stock, and they killed everybody in the stock. And that company was a spinoff of Biogen. I showed you point blank how it works with KNW. Once Lynn did the terms, all you had to do is that spiral note. They have the right to convert at the lowest point. I told you point blank what they were going to do. It went from 90 to 2 cents. 90 cents to 2 cents. And they got kicked off the exchange. And the only way to get the stock back up again is going to be what? To reverse it. I don't know what the market cap of the company or how many shares they issued, but we'll see the numbers be, it'll be enormous. With $4 million worth of stock at 2 cents, William, how many shares is that? 80 million shares? I don't know.
I always get arithmetic wrong.
I'm just saying that they probably issued more shares on the conversion of that note than they had in the whole company. And that's what they do. Any other questions about any other stocks?
What do you think of Root?
What do I think of Root? I've been following it for a long time. I think it's a very dangerous stock. I don't think anybody on this phone line should be able to play it. It's very dangerous. Yeah, the options are expensive. I think the shorts are trying to cover. They also did a reverse in that stock, 25 for 1. If you go back in time, it was 25. It went below $1. They reversed it back up to 25. It went from 25 back down to 6. Then the company came out with great news, and it went to 100 on a short squeeze. But that was after the 25 for 1 reverse. So I've been following it for a while. I put up a post every once in a while with Jim Jordan showing him all that information. I'll put it up for you later if you want to read about it. I'll put all the, it's in a photo with Jim Jordan. I sent it to him many times because he is from Ohio. And my friend was an executive at NetJets, and he sold his company to Buffett. He happened to own a couple 100,000 shares of Root because he knew the people there. He bought in the IPO at $25, and he got his ass kicked. So it's a tough stock, but you can see it. It keeps squeezing. The other day I talked about it was 83. I turned around and went to 102, 103, closed at 96, I think, or something like that. I can't remember. But that is the stock that is definitely a controlled buy-in by a short seller. He's trying to cover. So if it was my opinion, if they ever go after it, knock it down $10 or $15, then I would step in and buy it. And then when they return, it goes back up again, you sell it. You buy the dip, sell the rip. Dangerous stock, though. Very hard to trade.
Oh, so why did Root, even though it did all those reverse splits and had all that trouble, how come it was able to reach $100 a share?
Because the company came out with fundamental news that changed the whole narrative of the stock. What's Finger Motion going to come out with? Fundamental news that's going to change the whole dynamics of the stock. We said it 28 times. My friend, who is a big IR guy, was with William with me in Atlantic City. When Finger Motion goes positive, cash flow positive, what happens, William?
It goes up.
The shorts give up, the narrative is over. Finger Motion is close to doing that. Root came out, and it was some sort of financials. I forgot what it was. The stock was around, I forgot the number, and it exploded up that day to 120. If you go back and look, you can see the news. I forgot what it was.
I don't know if you know anything on NIXX.
I do not.
Have you heard of cardiogenics?
Yes.
What do you think of that?
What about it?
Ask him about cardiogenics. Will it ever trade again?
That's the question. No, I believe that the CEO tried to give a special dividend before he gave people a share of the technology, and he moved the technology out of the company. It was CGNH, I think it was. I don't remember. I lost track of it.
CGNH, that's right.
And he issued a dividend. Dr. Gawad was his name, right? I'm told that he issued a dividend to the investors, and a piece of the technology. But he had a technology for predicting heart attacks, I believe, using some sort of bead technology that Merck. I'm trying to go back in time. You know what? Let me get the right details on what happened with it. I know someone who's close to it, and I can ask this guy about it because I can't remember all the details, and I don't want to make a mistake.
And I know you spoke about Northwest Bio, but KYP wants to know what you think of Northwest Bio.
It's interesting. I told you I think that the company is going to get a settlement. They'll never get the discovery because the brokerage firms will faint. So they're going to wind up paying Northwest Bio, let's say $50 million. West will take his $10 or $15 million, and they'll seal it with a kiss, and we'll never know what the settlement said or what happened. If you go back and look, Pat Byrne did a settlement with Goldman Sachs. He got $30 million, but that was a sealed settlement. No one ever knew what came out of it. Same thing with Credit Suisse. They sealed it up for 50 years, right?
Right.
It's amazing that they hide all the information about the criminals, right? We'll pay you, make it go away, but we can't tell you exactly what we did.
Okay. Yeah. Don't see any other questions that are.
MLSS, I sold. I don't need to talk about that anymore. The news is on the tape. If you want to stay with it, you stay. I know good people that were buying it. I just decided to take my 30 cents and run. Any other stocks you want to talk about? Ask anything.
Trying to remember what other questions people were asking earlier. You talked about Finger. You talked about
DJT.
DJYL.
Listen, GameStop, I do not believe. Listen, I kind of love the guy Roaring Kitty, but I couldn't follow him. If he was my leader into a battlefield, he definitely would have let Steve Rosenberg. He would have let Steve Rosenberg survive. See, if Steve Rosenberg was in my platoon, I would have had him shot in a second. See, that's the difference between me and Roaring Kitty. He doesn't understand how to get rid of the morons. All right, but I'm only kidding, Steve. But he just doesn't say anything that has any value. I have no idea what he's talking about, the guy. I don't know what he's doing. And, talking about a short squeeze.
Oh. Yeah, no, go on. Keep going.
GME has sold 140 million shares and took in $5 billion. I think the CEO sold those shares because the SEC was on his ass about something, and he made that go away, and he did the SEC a favor by covering the shorts. There may be, 5 million more short. I don't know what the numbers are, but the stock doesn't trade like it used to. Remember, it used to squeeze up 3, 4, 5, 10 points in a second. Now you don't get that anymore. It's very orderly, the whole trading in the stock. So again, very different. So yeah, I just don't see it. And it's the most high profile one of all because everyone talks about it and it's squeezed once. But Wall Street has no mercy for the people that stayed in it too long. If you stayed and didn't sell, shame on you. That's how Wall Street looks at it. You had your opportunity to sell. I think 10 times it squeezed. I can't even tell you how many times. So, to me, that's not a name I would play. The only thing I would do in GameStop is when they mark it down $1, $1.50, you buy the dip. When it pops back up, sell it, and just steal whatever money you can, day trading it, just flipping it. Because the investors in that stock are very passionate about it. And they seem to, want to buy more and trade it back up. And, I just think it's just like a pyramid scheme. I'm buying it, William buys it, Tony buys it, then I sell it, then you sell it. It's the same. It's got that same pattern to me. No interest in it.
The one that I went, is G-Bucks. What do you think of G-Bucks? What's going on?
All right, I told you the story's coming out of Goldman. The guy from Goldman's telling people that it somehow comes back to me. And, when I hear things along those chains, I took a shot. I told you what I did. I bought stock at 75. I bought stock at $1.30, and I bought stock at $2.30. I'm told it's going to be a monster play in 2025, and I'm told just pay attention and watch the news, and let's see what they do. But I'm hearing major things about it, and let's see the news come out. That's, the news will start telling about it. But again, I was on with you Friday, William. I wasn't even near a computer in the stock. I told you had that gut feeling that it was going to trade up. I went back and counted as far as I can see. And my gut feeling tells me that the naked short in this stock is somewhere between 400 and 500,000 shares. I heard there's only 1 million shares in the float. So this guy is short half the float already. Wow. And it's just warming up.
Wow.
That just shows you
how much is how much is short and how much is in the float?
I heard there's only 1 million shares in the float.
Right.
And these guys are short, my guess, is somewhere between 400 and 500,000 shares.
Wow. I
went back every day, looked and counted, looked on the chart. I saw the action in it. And there had to be about, I'll say, 800,000 shares traded. And it looks to me like somewhere between 400,000 and 500,000 was being forced down, meaning someone trying to sell it. The clear sign the other day was that someone came in and sold, I think it was over 5,000 shares. The stock was $1.40. They sold it down to 93 cents. A friend of mine bought 4,000 of it on that wipeout.
Wow.
Two days later, they did it again with 70-something hundred shares. And my friend, again, he bought 6,000 of that 7. He bought it down to $1, I don't know, maybe $1.10. I forgot the number, what he said. So there's people that are lurking with buy orders, just watching to see these attacks. And this guy got 13,000 shares on attacks at much lower prices just by accident. That tells me that these guys are trying to break it and they couldn't. So they did once, 1 potato, 2 potato, they tried and it didn't work. Now they got a problem. And Friday showed me that there's people that have believed that there's something coming and they're buying it. And, they started to pick up the pace of buying it, as you saw on Friday. And the short has got a huge problem. I don't know how they're going to cover it. This short is not the shorts that we are used to. This is a short, and I'm not going to make fun of you, but this is a short like William. William is the short seller in this name. William's a good guy. He took a shot. He works on a trading desk. He wanted to get short, and William stepped out under his. He was an apprentice, and he says, "I'm going to do my first trade. Here's the stock. It's very thin. I'll just start selling it." And now it's gotten away from William. And when I worked on a desk, when a trade got away from somebody, they came over with the big rubber hammer and hit you in the head. That was the end of you. You were out.
That's
You had
true. That aspect we don't seem to see anymore, but that's what would happen. I'm not talking about getting fired, but they wouldn't give you any time if you.
Oh, no, this stock looks like he's on some small trading desk somewhere. And it doesn't look like he's long for the world, this guy.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. It has that feel.
Yeah.
You can see that the shorts in finger motion are very different. The short finger motion we got a bigger player around on here. It could be someone like, I don't know, but I'm going to say like the Anson Fund's a $1 billion fund out of Canada. We got someone like that who's Jeff Easton's partner. Jeff is signing these deals, Easton, and this guy is shorting it, and the two of them whack up the profits when they steal it. In the final frontier, Jeff Easton's sitting there, "I didn't short your stock, but, my cousin is doing it," or whoever his friend is. Maybe it's the guy Hancock in Australia. I don't know. But that's how it works. GBUX looks like it looks like we got a 12-year-old kid as a short seller. It doesn't, they tried all the little tricks that people try to do, meaning like, kamikaze, sell 5,000, see if it breaks. They were testing to see if there's air pockets and that people would bail out. That's what they tried to do. And it didn't work, and it bounced back. He tried it again, and it bounced back, and it bounced back harder. Now the stock has made a new high the other day. The old high was 233. I was 230. I paid 230. It hit 233, and yesterday on Friday hit 234. So this stock is the trend is your friend here. Again, Wall Street's about information, and for most of my life, I play on information or I try to get an edge. MLSS, I heard there was news coming about their epidural. I told you what I heard. And you know what? It came out on the nose. The stock didn't react the way I wanted it to. So I held on, even though I was not happy about it. It went down, went up, and then finally it started to move up. And I told everyone, the minute I sell, it's going to go up. We all say the same thing. But I decided to do that, and I bought some more finger back at 123, and I bought some finger back at 112. I really wanted to start getting some kilo in here, but I didn't get an opportunity to do it, so I kind of spread it around. I started buying this GBUX, and I started doing buying some other DJT. And, I'm not buying a big in DJT. It's a big price stock, so I can't buy that much. And, so I'm looking at it saying, okay, DJT runs up. I buy the dip. I sell it on the flip. That's it. I'm not there too long. But this GBUX, I have to give it a chance to see what happens. My average is probably $1.15. I told you exactly when I purchased it. Good friends of mine paid $2 the other day. They bought, my friend told me he bought a couple of thousand shares up to $2. He bought it all day, 200, 300, whatever he was doing. So give it a chance. Let's see it work. Listen, you all know where it's coming from. The rumor is coming from Goldman Sachs. And you sit there, this guy's fucking making it up. Well, that's how it happens. If I work at Goldman Sachs, I walk into someone else's office and say, hey, go buy the stock. What's going on? I know the people there, blah, 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 blah. And they're working on this deal, blah, 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 blah. That guy gets up, tells somebody else, and all of a sudden, I bumped into it. That's how it works. If the SEC's on the phone call, go to Goldman Sachs. I'm just playing on hearsay that I'm hearing from the street. And that's how it works. And times, there's so many things you hear on Wall Street, right? Everyone hears things. We just don't know if it's true or not. The stock in GBUX is telling me something's going on. Finger motion tells me that we don't see the way it's treated by the shorts tells us that the stock is like shit. And if I didn't know everything about it, I would agree with the short sellers that the stock doesn't look good. I would be the first person to agree. But unfortunately, I know every gory detail. Every gory detail. I don't know the exact moment the company's going to do something or that, or what their business is, or how much they make. I follow it. I study. I watch the videos again with the CEO and William. I've watched them 30 times. And each time I watch it, I come up with a little tidbit. Just listen to the CEO. He's giving you the blueprint. He's telling you we're doing the dividend. He's telling you that this contract is massive with the truck thing. He's telling you the insurance data business is going to be monstrous. He's working with Munich Re, one of the biggest reinsurers in the world. Everybody wants to get into China. This guy's got it all going. It's not easy to start when you're playing with small money. If Finger Motion had GameStop's money, forget it. They would have taken over China by now. So when Finger Motion does go, I hope it goes crazy. And the first thing that happens, they exercise that, everyone exercises their warrants, and the company gets another 15 million at 3. And hopefully the stock's 100, they can sell, another 1,000 shares, then get 100, get $10 million, whatever it may be. And then this company's off to the races. You know it as well as anyone, William. Companies need capital to build their business, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, it's not like every company just sits down at a desk. Oh, here's my blueprint. Here you go. It makes money. You got to build it out. You need to hire employees. You got to get parts. You got to do this. Finger Motion doesn't have to do any of that. China's just giving them deals just to be, hey, just tweak your business a little bit, and you're in business. Here's the data from the telecom. Hire a couple of data guys. The insurance companies are helping pay the data for the information on the data. They said that also. So a lot of the costs that are incurred in developing the insurance product is covered by Munich Re. And I heard that every time they sell an insurance policy in China, Finger Motion is basically the broker on the transaction and will get paid on that one for the life of the policy, William. So think about when that starts, what's going to happen there? Life insurance, health insurance, car insurance, home insurance, everything. And Finger Motion is the lead in that, thanks to the telecoms and the Chinese government. And for those who don't believe it again, there was no lottery. This company was awarded the deals. It's like they were sitting in a room and they say, who wants this deal? Finger Motion was the only person sitting in the room raising their hands, and everybody else, no one said a word. So it's obviously this company is well connected. I'll just recap everything again, and this way everybody feel comfortable. Finger Motion, I posted the events that are coming up. There could be, we've been hearing about a big deal coming out of Indonesia, William. We met people from Indonesia. I don't know what it is. We've been hearing it from Asia. Some people posted it on Twitter. They heard it also. There's a big deal coming out of Indonesia. What day? What is it about? I don't know. I wouldn't doubt it because that's where they cover. They cover the whole Southeast. And they said they wanted to start getting information, doing things outside of China, right?
Yeah.
He said that on the video. He said that.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. And what else are we waiting for? The raw capital report, the special dividend. We got the earnings coming out. We'll get the information on that. The emergency vehicles, again, how much money they make on that. The CEO felt that this next report, or maybe the next quarter, they will be in the black. I think it has to be coming from that. Because that'll change the whole dynamics if they're making $30,000, $40,000 a car in profit. That'll turn that income, it'll be profitable then. And once they go profitable, it's just going to keep going. So there's your finger enough. And, there's other things that are in here. At any given time, Andrew left and Hindenburg and those people at Anson or Canaccord's in that Northwest Bio suit. If, these guys are all, Canaccord has been notorious naked short seller for 30 years. Since I found them, these guys have been bad. All the Canadians, all the U.S. brokers were giving the orders to Canaccord, and they were selling it back into the U.S. They've been devious for a long time, and they wanted to stop. They wanted the brokerage firms that was fucking around with GTII because I reposted it many times about Canaccord. And the CEO's dirty, and he got caught with the Anson Fund. So we know what they were doing, and that guy knows where all the bodies are buried because as the CEO of the company, all the naked shorts were going through Canaccord at any given time, this whole thing unwinds because once these guys start giving up people, we've been hearing that people have been served. I told you I heard that rumor and it came out of Canaccord that Jeff Easton and the people of Lynn were served. I don't think they're walking down the street with a flag saying we've been served by the DOJ. I think that somebody's probably got served because the people of Canaccord are the ones that told people. I told you before, I know many people in different areas. They hear things. They run it back past me. I just tell you exactly what I heard. Is it true? I can't confirm it. I don't know it. I hope the fat fuck he was picked up on Friday. When you get arrested on Friday, they don't let you out of jail till Monday because there's no judges. So hopefully they pick him up on a Friday to make him suffer. MLSS, I sold it at $1.30. NIXX, I don't know much about it. I seen it go to $5. I had friends buy some on that recently, and it fell apart. Stocks don't act like that. Stocks don't squeeze the 5 and then totally collapse. I expect that to bounce back up. The people I know, people that bought stock are good people. I'm sure it's going to turn around again. I don't know when. Same as DJYL and GDC. GDC, we had a great trade. It was awful. I was bagged in it. Awful. I averaged down. And it turned into a great trade. I got out at 7. I told everyone I sold it, William. I told everyone that was the easy trade. It went to 12. I know one person who sold it at 11. Okay, we all know who she is. She caught near the top. And I said that was the easy trade, the spike up. I don't know everything about GDC. I still don't even know what the hell they do. So that's why I treated it as a trade. GameStop, I treated it as a squeeze. I thought that I didn't know how high it was going to go. It went to 500. I got it at 118. The 2 gentlemen yesterday made fun of me. One of the guys sold it at 400 or 440 or 470. I forgot his number. He sold it really at the top. And he got out near the top. Good for him. But now I understand the potential, and when you get in and understand it, I was in GameStop writing reports on it for anybody else. I wrote reports to the Abu Dhabi Stock Exchange, to their SEC, Abu Dhabi Global Markets. I was there. I presented it to 500 people about GameStop. The reports, everything, way before, because I needed to have something, a stock to show them that I thought would squeeze. And that's, of all the stocks, I picked GameStop to look at. I went and looked, I looked at the data, and I saw it was ready to go. And it did. Am I a one-hit wonder? Well, maybe, but I know many others that I have caught for squeezes. But again, unless you study it, how do you stay in a stock when you know nothing about it? So what I advise you to do when you have a stock and it's squeezing like that, you turn around and you start making small sales all the way up. If you bought 1,000 shares and the stock goes from 2 and it's trading at 12, you sell 300, 400 shares. Now you got 600 left. If it goes to 14, you sell another 100. 18, sell another 100. Then all of a sudden it may drop back down to 2. But you can say, wait a second, I sold 800 out of my 1,000. And the 200 shares that I have left, I broke even on. There's no shame in that. People make mistakes like that all the time. Or you could just say, screw it, like I did, GDC. I bought it at 3. I bought it at 65 cents or 68 cents. I forgot the number. I got an average that was way lower than I got in it the first time. Went to 7. Instead of losing $3, I made $5. And I didn't even hesitate. See you later. I'm out. Because I know nothing about it. FNGR, I know everything about. GBUX, I'm hearing good things about it. I don't want to tell you everything I'm hearing because I don't know if they're real or not. Let's see what come out. It's coming out of Goldman Sachs. Anything that comes out of Goldman Sachs, not everything comes out of Goldman Sachs is it's IBM and Google. These guys hear small things too. They're just like us. They want to get in. They want to get in early. They want to be part of it, and they make a lot of money doing stuff. So, so that's what I know. Anything else? I think I covered almost everything.
If Roth Capital comes out with a research report at 8 or 12, like you suggested, would the stock squeeze or will it grow?
Yes, it is definitely going to make, I think that could be the catalyst. I don't want to tell you that, but I do believe that could be the catalyst to end it right there. What's
the break point, the stock price on Finger that breaks the shorts?
Well, we know the real short is probably around $2, a little lower. They did cover some, so you got, they made a little profit on it. But for the most part, I think that the real short is, maybe 190, $2, like right there. He's only 1.2 million. That's all he is. The other number is a little higher, but I would guess, everyone has to understand. I try to tell you, the cost to do this stuff is enormous. We know Lynn Partners is paying Morgan Lewis Bacchius. All right, they have to be paying those guys for the shit that they're doing. Easy, $500,000 to $1 million a month. Easy. And once they start getting into some trouble here, then they're going to get a criminal law firm on top of it. So that law stuff is very expensive to do. Listen, for doing penny stock, they're doing penny stocks, small cap stocks, debt, these little debentures, to hire Morgan Lewis to do it. Does that make any sense to anybody? Doesn't make any sense to me. You can hire Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe to do that stuff, right? And if you look at it, GTII, the Kramers hired, what was the name of that law firm in D.C.? You went to their office that time.
Gibson Dunn?
Another major law firm. By penny stock scumbags from Long Island, they were hiring Gibson Dunn. They all think that by hiring these big law firms that they get they'll get the criminal guys or the top SEC guys to hear what's going on at the SEC, because the SEC employees quit, and where do they go to work? Morgan Lewis, Gibson Dunn. So if I'm working at Morgan Lewis and I'm the SEC guy at Morgan Lewis, he would call up the SEC and say, "Hey, William, it's me, Morgan Lewis Bacchius. If you give me a tip on what's happening with this issue with these Kramer guys or, Lynn Partners, I guarantee you when you leave the SEC, you'll get a job offering here. No problem. Meet me tonight at the Capitol Grill, William. Is that the place by you, the Capitol Grill?"
Capitol Grill.
They meet at the Capitol Grill. They shake hands, give a hug. He gives them a note saying, "Hey, we have an investigation into Lynn, or we have an investigation into GTI," and they try to head it off. That's how it goes. And if you say I'm crazy, go watch The Big Short. Remember the girl at the pool? "Oh, I'm going to try. I work at the SEC. I'm trying to get in with these guys." That's what they do. Pat Byrne always said it. The regulators are captured. That's what he meant by it. So the people at the SEC are tipping off the law firms because they want to go work there. That's what they do. And just by these criminals hiring these guys, spending all this money to do a basic toxic note tells you that these guys know the shit. They got to be ahead of the curve on what they're doing.
What do you think the target price is once the Roth Capital price comes out in terms, not on the report? What do you think the price action is on the stock?
I think the stock goes to 5 real fast. And once it starts to move to 5, it's not going to stop.
Which stock goes
Like
first?
I could see the jump and go 5 bid, travel to 6, pull back to 480, then boom, the next day it's 10, 20, like that.
Which stock goes first, Finger or ZJYO?
I don't know anything about CJYL. If I knew something, I'd tell you.
Just to clarify, you weren't suggesting that Martin is having an interview tonight. You were just talking about go re-listen to one of the interviews.
Oh, I have no idea if he's doing. I said the Rogers old interviews. Listen, the 2 interviews, the one William did in December, and then you did one a couple weeks ago or something. I forgot when.
Yeah.
Just watch the last 2 interviews. William has them up on YouTube. Just sit down and watch them. Watch what he said the first one, and then watch the next one. They're back to back. And you'll be able to take a piece of paper and do 2 minutes worth of homework. Okay, he said something about the dividend. He's waiting he believes it's mid-December. And the next one he said, hey, we're still waiting on it. I can't force them to move faster. He said the same thing. So you know the dividend's coming. So for the people to ask, is the dividend's coming, is total nonsense because you know it's coming. You said it twice. Having the company reverse the stock, whoever's saying that, that's completely false. That's make-believe land. I would tell you right now that I think K&W is going to reverse. I'll say that GMGI, after they finish raping that company, they'll reverse it. There was a company I heard something about the other day, ZKIN. Someone told me it gapped up 30 cents. Someone told me they think it can go from there. It got killed down and it reversed. It's now $3. I don't know what the reverse was. I don't even know what the hell they do. But that company reversed. I looked at it and said, oh, it's $3. Did it go up? I heard something about it was 90 cents. I didn't look at it again. And next thing I saw it at 3, I was scratching my head. I said, wait a second, these guys must have reversed. And that's what they did. And it was 40 cents. It went to 90 cents, and then they did a reverse. It went 40, 90. I think it went back down. Then they did the reverse, yeah. The NASDAQ is kicking all companies off that are below $1. And if the NASDAQ is forcing these companies to get off the NASDAQ, which I don't believe, I think companies are moronic. The NASDAQ offers no protection for anybody. NASDAQ, OTC, small cap, bulletin board, doesn't make a difference. Companies need to do tricks to trap the shorts. That's it. Because you can see GBUX is a small little nothing. All of a sudden, now it's got almost 500,000 shares short, and the thing trades 20,000 a day. How are they going to cover it? And that's just because they're arrogant, they're scumbags, and they think they can just steal at will. But you know what? That's coming to an end. And go find your own poison. Go out. There's plenty of stocks. Do your homework. Don't come back to me and you didn't do your homework and ask me about a stock you know nothing about. You want me to comment on it? I don't know it. I only comment on things that I follow. I can't address everything else. I said it the other day. NVIDIA's got too much hair on it. Would I be buying the dips? I don't think so. I'd rather short it on the rallies, but for the most part, I'd rather stay away from it. Go find something else because 1 minute you can short it, the company can come out with a chip if the rumors are false about all the bullshit in it. The stock can open at 200. What the hell am I going to play it for? So go find something else. Go find a different name. I don't want to be in the kamikaze business anymore. If you want to be in the kamikaze business, Tesla, NVIDIA, go trade, any stock that's $1,000 that's going up and down 20 points a day, good luck. You'll get chopped apart.
Which stock goes first, Finger or G-Bucks?
Well, I like to get the G-Bucks over with so I can take the money and buy more Finger. That's my opinion. I like to sell some G-Bucks north of 10, then turn around, I could buy another, 20, 30,000 of the other thing. It's a stupid question. I don't know.
Have you heard of the stock PSQH?
No. too many letters for it. I don't even know what it is. PSQH. I'll try to look at it. I don't know what it is. Listen, I focus on a few things. I am not trading the market anymore. I can't turn this into a trading hotline where he asks me questions, and I don't do that. I don't want to do it. I want to move on I want to move on to things where I kill them in finger or kill them in the G-Bucks. I can move money around, find special situations, accumulate it. And, one gentleman told me he loves oil and gas. He loves the drillers. He thinks Trump's doing this. I mean, so there's a lot of ideas out there that you can find that are safe. Once I make a big hit, then I'm going to find safe things. If I find something speculative, I'll dig into it. I try to give you all the information that I've dug up over the years following these stocks. That's what I'm doing. And if you look at it, everything I've been saying has been almost on the nose. The only thing that's not on the nose is the short squeeze, because we can't control it because the SEC is protecting the criminals. But they're not going to be able to protect them too much longer. What else you got, William? That's it?
That's it.
Well, listen, everybody, have a great Sunday. And at least you got a feeling about what's going on. I don't have to keep posting it. You understand what it is. And again, to my new friends and Mark R. down in on vacation with his new boyfriend, Paulie's over you. So just remember that. All right, everyone, have a great day. And what else can I say? That's it. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
All right.
Call ended.
All right, that went on for a while. Look, Next Trip, Ham doesn't know about Next Trip. Next Trip, NTRP. I'll go out on a limb and say that this week, I think you could, it's not a promise, but I think you could see that stock go from 7 to anywhere from $8 to $8 or maybe $12, maybe $14 this week. But we'll find out. We'll find out as more is revealed. But I think if you own Next Trip, let's see what happens this week. And I'd wait. If nothing happens, I would certainly wait through the end of next week, this coming week on Next Trip. But I like XRP. I know everyone keeps pushing it here. I'm not anti-XRP at all. I like it, but I don't know what value I can really add on XRP. Railtown, RLAIF. You can buy it at 30 cents, I think. I don't know what it closed at, but it's right around 30 cents. I don't really have a timing on that, but I'd say within the fortnight, it's possible that you could see at some point there's going to be a repricing, a revaluation of that stock, in my judgment, based on the product they have. By the way, that deep seek thing, that deep suck thing, it cost $1 billion to put that together, not $6 million. So I guess it depends on how you audit the costs. But anyway, I think Railtown AI, I don't know. If it gets revalued, if there's news, if there's something going on, and I think that could be relatively soon. Does it go to $1? Does it go to $1.20? Maybe higher? That's what I think. I think you start there. So it's a nice trade. Other than that, I don't know what else. I'll save some of this other stuff we could talk about because I'm a little knackered. The Rickards letter, there's a gold stock he likes that looks interesting. And then he likes, these are all of his editors, but he likes this Marathon Petroleum. Look, this is what's coming. Oil and gas, gold, silver, it's coming. And now the information is spinning around the world at light speed. So I don't know how much longer you're going to be able to buy silver at $30. Any of you out there that are trying to trade these stocks, XRP, Northwest Bio, any of it, I'm not telling you not to do that. But just, go buy 10 ounces, 10 ounces, 20 ounces, 50 ounces, 1 ounce of silver. It's not going to be $30 much longer. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. I got things I got to do while the daylight is here. So thanks for dropping in. And KYP, thank you. My little boy hopefully is up with St. Francis. So anyway, cheers to everybody. Peace, love, happiness. And we'll catch you on the flip side. Cheers.